Hello everyone, my name is KelSounds. Today I want to show you guys what I've been working on. I have a filter here inside of Max for Live called That Took Way Too Long Multifilter. So actually, before I show you what's inside of this Max for Live device, I just want to show you what I was trying to do and why it was probably easier to do it inside of an Ableton rack instead of doing it the way I did it. Because I wanted to try and make it inside of Max for Live and not inside of an Ableton rack, I struggled quite a bit. And it took me pretty much a long time to figure out how to do this simple thing. But yeah, let me just show you what I was trying to do. I'm going to go ahead and grab a new MIDI track. I'm just going to ignore this one right over here. I'm gonna drop in a Serum 2 sound. I'm going to go ahead and group this. I'm going to open up the macro knob and just have one macro knob because I think, yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to need for this. I'm going to grab an EQ8 because I love EQ8. It is my favorite thing. And I'm going to use two EQ8s actually. And I'm going to use one band. This is what I was trying to do inside of Max for Live. Okay. And by the way, I couldn't find any videos on Max for Live on how to do this, so I had to read through a whole bunch of documentation. I had to mess around a lot inside of Max for Live and fail miserably. But anyways, this is what I was trying to do. Okay, I have this. Let me actually delete that. And then I have another EQ8, and I'm going to offset it from the first EQ8. So this is at 235 hertz. This is at 1,200. Oh my gosh, what is this? 1,025? 1,025 hertz? 1,250 hertz. Yeah, that's what that's at. Okay. Whoops. Anyways, I'm gonna map this to macro 1, and then I'm going to map the second EQ8 to macro 1 as well, which is called 2 frequency A. And I'm going to drag this. I'm going to drag this over here, actually. I'm going to grab another EQ8 and throw this at the end of the chain. I'm going to go ahead and scale both of these. Mess with the Q by quite a bit to turn it down. Okay, so they're kind of in the same frequency range when I mess with the knob. And you can kind of see that over here on this EQ8. And I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, they're even at the same range, so this isn't even going to work. But the minimum for this first one, I want it to be at 10 hertz, that's fine. And then the second one, I'll have it at like, I don't know, something like that. And yeah, that works. That's fine. Because I can do it inside of this Ableton rack here where I can just control the values to have the first EQ8 at one frequency and then the second EQ8 offset to another frequency. As you can see, there's these two notches over here on this third EQ8 that's at the end of the chain. And so it creates this sort of like phaser effect. And pretty much that's what I was trying to do inside of Max for Live. What I didn't realize is how hard that was going to be. This is probably way easier to do instead of actually doing it inside of your own Max for Live device. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was trying to do. I was trying to have two filter types. So these are like band or peak notch filters, I think. Oopsies. And have them move at the same time, but at different frequencies. And like I said, I wasn't able to find anything on like YouTube tutorials. Heck, I even asked ChatGPT, and that was useless at times because it would just like, I would type in like, this is what I'm trying to do, and then it would just output a bunch of random letters together. Sometimes it can be useful, like if I type in, I'm learning about biquad filters. What are some really good resources I can use? And then I hit enter and it points me in the right direction. Then you can read the documentation. So that's pretty much what I had to do. And even then it was still hard to figure out how to do what I was trying to do. But yeah, it was just confusing. But yeah, after all was said and done, I was able to figure out how to do what I just showed you guys over here in Ableton rack inside of Max for Live. I'm going to go ahead and just ungroup this. I only grouped it because I thought it'd sound cool for the intro, but I'm just going to get rid of everything inside of here, turn off the EQ8. Actually, we can use that. I have a limiter at the end of the chain. I'm going to use this EQ8 so we can see what's happening with the frequencies. And then this is our device. I haven't like officially gave it a name just because I was experimenting with stuff, but I pretty much called it that took way too long multi-filter. I'm going to init preset on this serum, and then yeah, just kind of show you guys what I did. Okay, so let's open up this Max for Live device. I'm going to show you guys what is going on. Actually, let's see if I can do this. Oh yeah, that's perfect. I have my plug in and my plug out, so everything coming into Max for Live is coming in through this plug in, and then once you're done creating your effect, it comes out through this plug out. So yeah, basically, I used biquad filters in sequence with each other to create this sort of phaser effect, or to move multiple biquad filters at the same time but at different frequencies. And yeah, I used the biquad filters in sequence, and then I have a live.dial object up here, which is called one knob. The maximum is set to 1250 hertz, and the minimum is set to 90 hertz. And then I also have some other objects over here. I have the filtergraph object, which can be used with Cascade or the biquad object. And so in our case, I use it with the biquad object to get the filter shape. The filtergraph object is really cool because it shows you what's happening visually with your filter. As we can see, it's like creating this notch inside of the filtergraph. You can also use another object. I think it's called filtercoeff, and this is kind of like biquad, except it doesn't give you the visual. It just kind of gives you the frequency, the gain, and the Q or resonance of the filter. So it even says in here, signal rate filter coefficient generator. The filter coefficient object is a signal rate filter coefficient calculator for the biquad object. It calculates the filter coefficients from 3 higher level parameters: frequency, amplitude, and resonance. Q or slope S. Its internal calculations are based on those of the filtergraph object. So yeah, it doesn't show you what's happening visually like filtergraph, but it pretty much does the same thing. And yeah, you can still create different filter types with it, just in a different way. But pretty much what I did is I have a filtergraph connected to a biquad object, and then my plugin or my input signal plugged into the biquad object, which is our signal that's going to be filtered. So if I go ahead, and I'm going to just do this really quickly, but I have a biquad and I have a filtergraph object. And so for the filtergraph, it has these like coefficients, and the coefficients are just like how the filter behaves. And so instead of like putting in numbers manually, because it can get like very confusing, I just went ahead and used the attribute object. Press Control E to go into the lock mode here. There we go. Connect that, and so you can choose like active filters. What we're looking for is the filter type. So I just went ahead and chose the filter type, and I did a peak notch filter. Oh, flippin' Cheez-Its. Hold on, I messed up. Let's see. I do. Where's the filter type? Filter type. Here we go. And I chose the peak notch, or you could just come in here and mess with the filter graph to make like a notch or a peak. So I went ahead and made a notch. Then I added a number. So I think to do that, I'm just going to hit I for a integer number and plug that into the resonance. And then you can adjust the resonance from there. Control E to go into the lock mode and mess with the resonance. And so now that we have the filter that we want, if we come over here to the list of filter coefficients and plug it into the biquad filter, we now have a peak notch filter, which is pretty cool. And so we send our input signal into this biquad. So if I take my plug in and then I send it into the biquad over here. So our input signal is coming in through plug in. The filter graph is producing the coefficients to make this peak notch filter, and it's going into the biquad object. So yeah, we send those coefficients into the biquad, and then we send our input signal in there as well, and then we send the biquad output to plug out. And as you can see on this EQ8, if I move this up a little bit, you'll be able to see it more on the higher frequencies. But if I go ahead and play this, as you can see, there's like a notch there. And so yeah, that's how you create a simple filter inside of Max for Live. And then you can also control the frequency, which is this third to last dot over here. This filter graph center frequency, and then you can control the gain of the filter. And so I'm going to go ahead and insert another integer number over here, and now you can control the frequency of the filter. Also, this is only going to work in mono because we're sending both our left and right signal into the biquad, and there is no left and right signal. It's only going to produce the sound for one side of our signal. So if we want it to have stereo, we would have to do something like this. So this is for the left side of our signal, or this area right here. And then this is for the right side of our signal right here. And so we'd plug it in like that. And now we have stereo information. But yeah, the Biquad object works in mono, so it's not going to output a stereo signal if we do something like this. But yeah, so that's how I first started this project. And so now I'm like, okay, well, what if I want to have multiple filters? Like, what if I don't want to just have one filter or one Biquad object, and I want to do what I did pretty much in the Ableton rack that I was showing you guys earlier, but I want to do inside of Max for Live. So this is the part that I was struggling with a lot, and it really wasn't, it didn't need to be as hard as I made it to be. So yeah, I want to have more than one filter type inside of our Max for Live device. So what I would do, I would highlight these objects, Control D to duplicate, and then Control E to go to lock. I'm going to insert another number, and now I want to have these two filters together. So we're going to have our plug-in signal going into our first Biquad object, and then this is going to work in sequence with our second Biquad object. We just unplug the plug-out cables here, and then we plug this into here, just like that. And now our first Biquad filter is in sequence with our second Biquad filter. Okay, sweet. So now I want to move both of these frequencies at the same time inside of both of these filter graphs. So I have my Q set. I'm going to delete this one over here. And now I'm going to use a live.dial to control the frequencies of both our filter graph objects. And so that works, right? Well, not really. So this is what I was doing, and I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out. You can control both of the frequencies at the same time, except they're going to be at the same value. So both of them are going to be at, I think this is at 686 hertz. So if I press play on this, it'll still create that notch, but they're not offset from each other. And so to fix that, what you have to do is you have to either use the addition object or the multiplication object to get these filter graphs to be at different frequencies. So our base frequency is going to be, if I come over here to the inspection of our live.dial, I want our base frequency to be, let's see, I'll say 90 hertz. And then I want the maximum range to be 1250 hertz. Go ahead, Control save that. And so yeah, this is our base frequency. And so when it's all the way down to 90 hertz, it's at 90 hertz on here. And then when I turn the knob all the way to the right, it's at 1250 hertz. But yeah, since I have these in sequence and I want these to move together at the same time, but I want the second filter graph to have an offset, I'm going to use the multiplication object. And so I'm going to multiply it by 3, or heck, let's do 4. I'm going to multiply it by 4. Oops. Didn't notice that object because I didn't put a space. There we go. Even says it over here, no such object. But yeah, like I said, I forgot to put a space. And so now I can connect this dial to this multiplied by 4 object and then send this to the frequency of our second filter graph. Our first filter graph is 90 hertz all the way to 1250 hertz. And then our second filter graph is sending these values, but it's multiplying it by 4. And so that's where the offset comes in. And then it's being sent to the frequency of our filter graph. And so now let's see what that sounds like once we plug in everything over here. And so now you can hear it and see it. And so that's pretty much how I made this patch inside of Max for Live. You can have more than one filtergraph object and sequence with more Biquad objects if you want. And then of course, if you want to display what's going on, I actually learned this from the documentation, but you can right click open filtergraph help, and I come over here to cascade. I wanted to cascade the different filter types onto one filtergraph, and so to do that I packed it into a pack object, sent it to a prepend cascade object, and then sent that to a filtergraph, so that way it displays what's happening with all three of our filtergraphs inside of this one filtergraph object. But yeah, that's pretty much how I made this Max for Live object. And yeah, there was a lot of headaches, and it really didn't need to be as hard as I made it, but for some reason I learn the hard way all the time. There's never an easy way to do things, but that's okay, because I learned, and it was an experience, and I'm glad I experienced it. Now I know how to make something like this inside of Max for Live. And also, if there's a better way of doing this, please let me know down below in the comments. Anyone who is experienced with Max for Live, I would love to know if there's a better setup here. But this is just how I was able to create the effect within Max for Live. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything over here because I have it all set on this side. So I'm going to come back over here and plug everything back in. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is our final output. Plug in is going to be sent to this object. Actually, I need to make this stereo. So I think I'm going to do that right now. If you want to skip over this part, you can. I leave timestamps, but I'm going to go ahead and just make this stereo really quickly if you want to go ahead and join me for the journey. So let's see. I haven't done this yet, but let's see. So I have my plugin. Perfect. I don't think I need to mess with the prepend cascade object at all. We'll just duplicate everything. Okay, so I just need this, and this. I think I can just duplicate that. Wait a minute, no, hold on. Okay, as you can see, I'm still kind of new to this. I just figured this out. Let's see, I'm gonna come over here and do this, do this. And then I'm going to do this. This is for frequency. Do this over here. And then do this over here. And this is going to be for our right input signal. So let's see, I got this coming over here into the biquad of our left, and this is in sequence, and then I need our right input to go over here, which is in sequence 1, 2, 3, and then yeah, I think that's it. Hold on. Okay, so I went ahead and zoomed out, and then wait a minute. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Oh, it's because I hid some cables. I'm like, where the heck did the cables go? It's because I hid them on the lock mode. But okay, so I got this coming over here, this coming over here, this coming over here, and then to the final output on the left signal, this coming over here, and then this is on the right signal. Okay, I think it should be stereo now. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some unison to the Serum 2 preset thing. And then I'm just gonna Okay, perfect. It is stereo now. Sweet. So yeah, that is the multi-filter meltdown. So yeah, that's pretty much my Max for Live device. I hope you guys enjoyed. This Max for Live device will be available to my subscribers on Patreon. So if you want to go ahead and download this device and kind of just see what I did inside of the patch, you can. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.